Hey, we're back, and if you're tuning in for the first time, I'm Brad, I go by the Whalen, and this is my vlog on Truck Venture. And today's a quick tutorial on greasing your lower suspension. And we've got some red grease here. Now, we installed the suspension recently, and one of the things about this suspension is that they ship it to you, it's not grease, so we're gonna have to do that ourselves. So, right now, there's some creaks and stuff when you're driving along, and, greasing is the answer. So, we're going to get the sucker greased up, and we're going to take you through how we do it. So if you have a vehicle that needs grease, you can do it too. All right, let's get started.
Welcome back to a quick tech video with the Whalen. I'm Nick, the mechanic. And anytime you start goofing around with a lot of off-road parts and things like that, you're going to start getting into polyurethane bushings, and you're going to start seeing little ZRK fittings, which are the little grease nipples that you fill up with grease. So, as part of a regular maintenance program, we've gone to our national budget tool distributor and purchased ourselves an inexpensive grease gun. You do not need an expensive grease gun. All it does is use a little plunger and push grease out of a tube. So we went and purchased a under $20 tool grease gun. This one's from a brand called Holt. And what you do, you just unscrew the big tube. And this is literally a giant plunger. So we just the tube in here. Basically, we're just going to feed the tube in. We're going to pop this cap off, and then you pull the ring when you're ready to go, stuff it in here, get ready to go. So that's just lock or not. Some of these actually lock in place like that. So as you can see, there's a little notch. We made a tube in a notch. So when you're loading the gun, keep the plunger out of the way. When you get your can of grease, or your tube of grease, it's going to be a cardboard tube. There's a little pull tab, a little cardboard part, and it says very clearly, remove cap and place this in the gun first. So, what we're putting in there is literally grease. This happens to be a brand called Stay Lube. They've been around since the dawn of time. They're a very good company, and they're not too badly priced. We've gone with red because it's what we had available. Pull the tab. Remove this without getting goo everywhere. Put this back on here. Do not release the plunger until you've screwed the top on. You will make a mess. And it will be a mess you do not want to clean up. This stuff sticks to everything. Traditionally, your average grease gun comes in two pieces. Got a little hose. And you just thread in here. And then your actual little grease adapter. Now, this one happens to come with a metal piece you can use as well. I like the hose because it makes it easier to get into spots. Gonna thread that on there. Now I'll grab some wrenches and tighten this down, and we'll be right back. You can tell this is done correctly that when you release this, it should stop because that's how much grease you have left in its little cartridge. And if you come up here, once you've primed a little bit, you should see red grease. And basically we're just going to use this to fill up all the fittings on the truck. So now let's climb underneath.
This is a ZRK fitting. What it is literally a little, the shape is actually to help hold the little adapter or the little grease gun on. And inside here is a little ball bearing. It's held in by pressure. Just beyond that is a void we're going to fill up with grease so that these polyurethane bushings have some grease to slide around on. So we're going to take this end of the grease gun, and it will literally if it wants to play nice, click into place, just like you heard, just like you saw. And now we just pump grease, and what you'll start seeing around the fitting is old grease start to get pushed out. Come on. So just for any of you who are curious, the part we are actually filling is a metal tube that these polyurethane bushings are pressed into. And they're a two-piece bushing, one on each side. And what we're doing is we're filling the void around these polyurethane bushings and in between the bushings and a steel sleeve that this bolt sits on. As Brad duly pointed out, and I never think of as a mechanic, this ZRK fitting isn't filling all of this arm here. We're just filling a little tiny tube that is welded into the arm. Kind of like, if Brad will pan back out, where you see this, rotate, where you see this tube right here, we would just be filling this tube area with grease if this is where a ZRK fitting were mounted, rather than filling all of this extra armature. The only difference is, down here, you can't see the tube very well because it's welded in pretty thoroughly. So we're not filling this whole area, we're just filling through this little grease fitting the backside of these polyurethane bushings to take up slack and allow for better movement. Now, like I said before, you just kind of, you can see there's a little ridge on there and there's a little cup in here. Kind of press till it clicks. All right, so now that we've filled everything up and cleaned it up, you can see some little bit of red grease around here. This little ball is pressurized and holds the grease inside. So theoretically, if my thumb will press hard enough, we should be able to press that and see some grease come out. That way you know you've actually filled the damn thing. And that's kind of the main thing to check on with these. You want to make sure that before you fill them, you clean around that little nozzle area. Brake clean or whatever you're using works fine. And then just check them once a month or once every time you feel like it, and if anything starts getting too noisy. Basically what you're doing is just putting grease behind these joints and behind these polyurethane bushings to help fill up and fill the slack up and keep it nice and lubricated.
Now, you will not see ZRK fittings on Heim joints. This particular one happens to be the end of our tie rod right here. And with this, there's two different camps on whether or not you lubricate these. The biggest point with these is if they're making noise, you can spray something like a chain lubricant or Tri-Flow in and around the edges. The big thing to take care of is make sure they're cleaned. You do not want to get grease, or you do not want to get anything that will collect dirt and get dirt in there, because they're such precision fittings that dirt will grind them away and cause all kinds of serious headache. So, like I said, there's two different schools on that, whether or not you should grease these. I'm of the school of grease and clean, but we live in the Northwest where things like sand and dust don't build up nearly as badly as they do in the Southwest. But yeah, this is the Heim joint at the end of our outer tie rod end. These will not have a ZRK fitting, and these are technically pre-lubed or lifetime lubricated. But if you are going to lubricate them, make sure they're nice and clean, and then you just come in with something like a little can of Tri-Flow here, and just give it a light spurt. And that's it.
Okay, cool. So that was a little tutorial on how to grease your suspension from ZRK fittings to Heim joints. So if you like this content, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.